battery box, Batman! Hello there and welcome back to Build the Boys. We now have issue 33 of Hachette's Build the Batmobile Tumbler. This issue is very proudly called The Battery Box. Guess what we're not working on in this issue? The battery box. We don't do anything with it. The battery holder, they call it. It's the battery box. We're not doing anything with it. The one thing I can tell you, this thing is going to consume batteries. So we know this takes 8 AAAs now, and it's like, God damn it. So you might need to remortgage if you'd like to put batteries in this. So we do literally nothing with the batteries in this. We are plugging more wires together. What I love is how they've spread this out over like 3 pages. Honestly, you could do this in one box. You don't need 3 pages for this. But hey, right, we're not going to complain. We got to get this done. It's all got to be done. I keep saying it's all got to be done. It's all got to be done. It's all got to be done. At the end of this one, I'm trying to keep a straight face. At the end of this one, we will be talking about the impact of the failure of Batman and Robin, and also what it caused. In the next one, we'll be talking about that, but in this one, the impact of the failure, exactly. It had a massive, massive knock-on effect, and it cost us possibly one of the most batshit mental superhero movies that never happened. And we will talk about that after this one. But let's get into this. Let's get this built. Let's plug some wires in, then we'll have a chat. I'll be back in a minute. Okie dokies, this is what we get. We get our battery holder. We get this one here and this one here. These are called the limit switches. And then we have the connector. So what we're going to do is flipping this one over. We can see on the back of this, we've got 13 and 14. So we are going to take wire number 13 here. And we're going to take plug number 13 here. And we're going to plug that one in there. That's done. Then we're going to take 14. Can you see where we're going with this? And 14 is going to plug into 14 here. And we're done. 29 seconds. Time. Let's have a chat. In 29 seconds. That's how quick that one was. And we're done. That's the build for this one complete. Keep the faith. Right? We got to be positive here. We just have to be, because it's all got to be done. It's all got to be done. It's all going to be done. It's all going to be done. It's just the way it is. Now, I understand a lot of you getting pissed off with this, and I completely get you. The next issue is not going to remedy that either. So issue 34 is not going to make you go, phew, finally something, because there's nothing. Issue 35 is going to be exactly the same. There is bugger all to do in issue 35. All we can do is hope 36 onwards, we can start getting some substance. We hope. Because, believe it or not, we are quarter of the way through this build. We're over quarter of the way through now, which is remarkable. On the next one, on the next delivery, we will be pretty much a third of the way through the build. So this stuff's got to start coming at some point. It just does. But it's the way it is. We're the ones that went first. We're the Yuri Gagarins of this build. So years from now, people who've jumped onto it and said they're going to build it will be like, oh, okay, I know I've got a couple of bad months. It's just the way it is. It is what it is. If you are just sticking around for the build instructions, I hope that 29 seconds was fulfilling. If you're sticking around for our bat chats, we are talking about exactly what the fallout of Batman and Robin was, because Batman and Robin bombed spectacularly. So everybody's career got hurt by this, except it didn't. Remarkably, the only person's career, I don't know, it's like sack your agent, the only person's career that really got hurt by this movie was Alicia Silverstone. Everyone else walked away pretty much scot-free. George Clooney went on to be George Clooney. Chris O'Donnell, yeah, okay, he did bits. Uma Thurman went on to have a fantastic career. Alicia Silverstone, man, we heard nothing from her for years after this. And it was almost as if they blamed her. It was like they'd gone, right, okay, so she did Clueless, big, and she was huge at this point. Then she did this, and they were like, nah, she's just not a box office draw. And it's like, well, she probably is. You probably shouldn't have put her in Batman and Bloody Robin, which is a terrible movie. It's not her fault. But that is what happened. Thankfully, in later life, Alicia Silverstone has pretty much had a resurgence of her career. If you've never seen The Lodge with her in, watch The Lodge. It's a crazy film, but it's really good, and she's fantastic in it. So what was the knock-on effect of this? Well, it pretty much signified the end of Arnold Schwarzenegger being a box office draw. So, you know, if Batman can't get people on seats and Arnie can't get people on seats, they looked at it and gone, okay, maybe this has ran its course. People are just pissed off with Batman, and there's not enough. But maybe it's not just Batman, maybe it's superhero films in general, because other superhero films have also tanked at the box office at this point. So other ones that have failed up to this point were The Phantom with Billy Zane. You probably think, does that exist? Yeah, The Phantom had bombed, as had, I can't even remember what it was called. Had William Baldwin in it. No, The Spirit, something like, I'm sure it was The Spirit, something like that, bombed. Val Kilmer had just been The Saint, bombed. And they kind of looked at it and thought, people just don't want superhero movies. They were wrong, but that's what they thought. Now, as a result of that, Warner Brothers had dumped a lot of money into another movie at this point, something that was going to have a crossover with Batman. And it stopped us from seeing this. Same time all this is happening, this is bombing, a lot of money has been dumped into Superman Lives. And it's nuts. The story of Superman Lives is absolutely insane. Jordan Peters, I want to say it was Jordan Peters, was the producer of, he produced the Batman films, he was the producer of this one. They were going to let him direct it at one point. And Kevin Smith tells a very funny story about the making of Superman Lives, where he had this list of things he didn't want to see from Superman. I don't want to see Superman flying. And he said, what? He said, no flying. We don't want him flying. I want to go and drive around in the car. I was like, what? He said, I don't want to see him flying. And he said, why not? And he said, because flying looks homosexual. What? But this is all true. This happened. That was kind of we don't want it. So the suit's got to go as well. You can't have that suit. You can't take the suit off Superman, but that was the deal. It was like, right, the suit's got to come off him. So who's going to wear a black suit? They wanted Sean Penn as Superman. And the reason why he gave, he said, because I've seen him in Dead Man Walking, and he's got the eyes of a killer. And it's like, Superman's not a killer. And he had all these things. So he goes through all these plot points with Kevin Smith. And one of them is, again, with the toyetic thing, was that Brainiac was going to be the main villain. And he says, we've got this robot dog that we want to sell. So you have to work in a character into the film so we can sell this toy robot dog. So Kevin Smith rewrites it and rewrites the dog in. Then there's this whole thing of there needs to be more action. So we need to have a fight at the Fortress of Solitude. He says, what? He said, we want Brainiac to fight a load of like guards at the Fortress of Solitude. He said, there's nobody at the Fortress of Solitude. Hence the name Fortress of Solitude. It's no one's there, but he insisted on that. And the deal breaker for him was, in the final act of the movie, Superman had to fight a giant spider. That had to happen, right? And he gave this whole reason that spiders, I watched a documentary about, and they're lethal when that. So he was obsessed with Superman fighting a giant spider. So Kevin Smith, to his credit, worked on a whole thing where he was going to fight a giant spider at the end. Now, Kevin Smith says it never happened. So this movie never happened. But he said the next time he saw this guy's name on something was on Wild Wild West. And at the end of Wild Wild West, out of nowhere, Will Smith, who's in a cowboy movie, fights a giant mechanical spider. And it's like, good for him, he got his spider. But that's what happened. So Warner Brothers have now just took an absolute bath on Batman and Robin, like pulled the plug, and that was it. So the plug was pulled on Superman Lives. Nicolas Cage was going to be Superman, as you can see in the picture, with his long hair and that suit lit up. But it was all killed. So everything was like, nope, killing it, and that was it. So it never happened. Now, years later, we did get to see Nicolas Cage in that suit at the end of The Flash. There's a scene where you see lots of other Batman. Spoiler, but don't worry, if I'm spoiling The Flash for you, it's crap. You haven't missed anything. You do see all the other Batmans, and you do see Nicolas Cage fighting a giant spider in that suit. But this is the knock on. This is how bad this was. So everything got shelved. Every single Batman DC property at that point got shelved, and it was a long time before they were like, we're not touching that. This has been absolutely terrible. And that is the knock-on effect. That's the massive impact that the failure of Batman and Robin had on cinema at that point. They were like, just pull the plug. It's got to go. Just pull the plug. The Shadow. I'm still trying to think what the William Baldwin movie was called. Someone's going to put it in the comments. If you know what the William Baldwin film was called, put it in it was like a 1930s thing, and he was like, was it The Shadow? It could have been The Shadow. I don't know. It was terrible. It bombed anyway. But yes, the knock-on effect of this is everyone just pulls the plug on everything. They're like, this is, that's it. So just stand down. At this point, James Cameron was toying with the idea of doing Spider-Man. And Spider-Man was going to be At the time, I want to say it's going to be Leonardo DiCaprio. That's what was kind of being mooted around. James Cameron's Spider-Man was nearly a thing. Also, so was the X-Men. At the time, the X-Men was being touted as the thing. Sylvester Stallone was being marked to play Wolverine, if you could imagine that. But this was all going on at this time. Another flop at that time was Judge Dredd, had come out the year before. That bombed as well at the box office. So these are all the reasons why people don't want these films anymore. Just kill them. So that was it. So we went into the wilderness years. So we then went 7 years without having Batman. But I do say this and I mean this. Batman and Robin is genuinely probably one of the most important superhero films ever made, even though it's regarded as one of the worst ones. The reason why it's regarded as I regard it as one of the most important films ever made is because of what it then caused. And we're going to talk about that in the next one, because I'm telling you, no Batman and Robin, no MCU, no Nolan films, none of it. Batman and Robin had to exist, and we'll explain why in the next one. So we'll be back very soon with issue 34 of Hachette's Build the Batmobile Tumbler, where we'll be doing, you guessed it, more wires. So tune in for that one. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice. You can contact us at buildwiththeboysoutlet.com. And until next time, remember, Gotham needs us. Thanks for stopping by.